Right now, in the first 3 years of life, your baby's brain is doing something it will never do again at this speed, forming over 1 million new neural connections every single second. That sounds incredible, and it is. But it also means this window is fragile. The habits you build into your daily routine right now, some of them so normal you've never questioned them, can either strengthen that development or quietly slow it down. I'm Dr. Mei Chen, and after 34 years working with infants, toddlers, and the families raising them, I want to walk you through 9 habits I see in almost every home habits that seem harmless, but that pediatric research links directly to slower brain development. Stay until the end because habit number 6 is the one most parents have never even heard of. Habit number 1, letting screens replace face-to-face interaction. The first habit isn't about your baby looking at a screen, it's about you looking at yours. Researchers call this the still face effect. When a caregiver's face goes flat and unresponsive even briefly, like when you're scrolling your phone mid-feeding or mid-play babies, notice immediately. Their heart rate changes, their stress hormones rise, and if this happens repeatedly, day after day, it interrupts something called serve and return interaction, the back and forth of baby babbling, you responding, baby responding back. This exact loop is what builds the neural architecture for language and emotional regulation. It's not about being perfect. It's about noticing the moments feeding, diaper changes, playtime where your full face and attention matter most, and protecting those specific windows. What to do instead? Pick 2 or 3 daily moments. Feeding time is a great one, and make those phone free, no exceptions. Your baby doesn't need constant engagement, they need consistent windows of it. Habit number 2, too much passive screen time for baby. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no screen time at all for babies under 18 months, aside from video calls with family. And yet, background TV, tablet videos, and passive screen exposure have quietly become part of daily life in most households. Here's why this matters more for babies than older kids. Infant brains learn primarily through 3-dimensional responsive experiences: touch, sound that responds to their actions, faces that react to them in real time. A screen, no matter how colorful or educational it claims to be, is a one-way experience. It doesn't respond to your baby. And background TV, even when your baby isn't directly watching, has been shown to reduce the quality and quantity of parent-child talk in the room, which is one of the strongest predictors of language development we have. What to do instead? If the TV is normally on in the background, try turning it off during your baby's active playtime hours. You'll likely find yourself narrating more, which is exactly the kind of language exposure their brain is hungry for. Number 3, inconsistent sleep routines. Sleep isn't downtime for a baby's brain, it's when some of the most important development actually happens. During deep sleep, the brain consolidates memories, strengthens neural pathways formed that day, and clears out metabolic waste through a process that's especially active during childhood. When sleep is inconsistent, different bedtimes every night, frequent late nights, irregular naps, the brain doesn't get the reliable, deep sleep windows it needs to do this consolidation work efficiently. Chronic sleep disruption in infancy has been linked to difficulties with attention, emotional regulation, and memory later in childhood. What to do instead? Consistency matters more than perfection. A predictable wind-down routine, same order of steps, roughly the same time each night, signals to your baby's brain that sleep is coming, which actually helps them fall asleep faster and stay in deeper sleep longer. Habit number 4, not talking to your baby enough. This one surprises a lot of parents because it feels strange to have a full conversation with someone who can't talk back. But the research here is some of the strongest in all of child development. The sheer number of words a baby hears in their first 3 years is one of the biggest predictors of vocabulary size, reading readiness, and academic performance years later. This isn't about teaching your baby vocabulary flashcards. It's about narrating your life out loud on Putting Your Sock On Now, This banana is yellow and soft during completely ordinary moments. Babies are absorbing the rhythm, structure, and sound patterns of language long before they can produce a single word themselves. What to do instead? Narrate everyday routines like grocery shopping, diaper changes, and mealtime out loud, even though it feels one sided. It isn't. Your baby's brain is recording every bit of it. Number 5, chronic stress and yelling in the home. A baby doesn't need to understand the words in an argument to be affected by it. Infants are remarkably sensitive to tone of voice, facial tension, and the emotional atmosphere of a room. When a home environment involves frequent yelling, tension, or chronic stress, babies' cortisol levels, their primary stress hormone, rise in response. And chronically elevated cortisol in early childhood has been associated with changes in the developing amygdala and prefrontal cortex, the brain regions responsible for emotional regulation and impulse control. I want to be careful here because every household has stressful moments, and the occasional raised voice will not derail your baby's development. This is about chronic, day after day tension, not the reality of normal family life. What to do instead if tension does happen: a calm repair afterward, a soft voice, physical comfort, a return to routine helps regulate your baby's stress response back down. The repair matters as much as the incident itself. Habit 6, nutritional gaps parents don't know to watch for. This is the one I mentioned at the start because most parents have never heard it from their own pediatrician in this much detail. Two nutrients matter disproportionately for early brain development: iron and Da, and omega-3 fatty acid. Iron deficiency in infancy, even mild deficiency that doesn't show obvious symptoms, has been linked in research to slower cognitive and motor development, some effects of which may persist even after the deficiency is corrected. Da, meanwhile, is a major structural component of the brain's gray matter and is critical during this rapid growth window. Breast milk and fortified infant formula are generally designed with this in mind, but as babies transition to solid foods, iron-rich foods like fortified cereals, pureed meats, or legumes often get deprioritized in favor of fruits and starchy vegetables that babies tend to accept more easily. What to do instead? This is genuinely worth a direct conversation with your pediatrician about your baby's specific diet and any recommended supplementation. This isn't a one-size-fits-all area, and blood iron levels are simple to check if there's ever a concern. Habit 7, overprotecting your baby out of exploration. This habit comes from a good place. Every parent's instinct is to keep their baby safe, but there's a difference between safety and over-restriction, and the line matters more than most parents realize. When a baby is never allowed to touch different textures, mouth a safe object, drop something and watch it fall, or get their hands into something a little messy, they lose out on some of the earliest lessons in cause and effect reasoning. This kind of hands-on trial and error is how babies build problem-solving pathways and curiosity itself. It's not a distraction from development, it is development. A baby who's constantly redirected away from exploring, or whose environment is so tightly controlled that nothing new ever gets discovered, has fewer opportunities to build those connections. What to do instead: set up a child-proofed space where your baby is free to explore without you having to say no every 30 seconds. Safe containers to open, different textured toys, supervised messy play. The goal isn't chaos. It's controlled freedom to discover. Habit 8, secondhand smoke and environmental toxin exposure. This one is well established, but still worth repeating because exposure is often unintentional: a family member smoking outside, but still carrying residue on clothing, or a car that was smoked in previously. Secondhand and even third-hand smoke exposure has been consistently linked to impaired lung development, increased risk of respiratory illness, and effects on cognitive development in early childhood. The developing brain is simply more vulnerable to environmental toxins than an adult brain because it's building foundational structures that will be used for a lifetime. What to do instead if smoking happens in the household, keeping it fully outside, and changing clothes or washing hands before holding your baby meaningfully reduces exposure. Habit number 9, too much time in containers, not enough free movement. The last habit is one that's become more common as parenting products have become more convenient. Swings, bouncers, and car seats that keep babies safely contained for long stretches of the day. These products aren't harmful in moderation, they're genuinely useful. The concern is when they replace free floor time. Movement, reaching, rolling, pushing up during tummy time isn't just physical exercise. These motions build the neural pathways connecting the brain to the body, and research has linked adequate tummy time specifically to gross motor development and even later fine motor skills. What to do instead? Aim for regular supervised floor time on a firm, safe surface, even a few minutes several times a day, so containers are the exception in your baby's day rather than the default. Okay, so now let's recap the 9 habits. Phone distraction during key moments, too much passive screen time, inconsistent sleep, not talking to your baby enough, chronic household stress, nutritional gaps in iron and Da, overprotecting your baby out of exploration, secondhand smoke exposure, and too much time in containers instead of free movement. One quick bonus for you: pacifiers and thumb sucking aren't harmful in themselves, but leaning on them as the only soothing tool, especially during your baby's awake, alert periods can crowd out the babbling and vocal practice their brain needs. A little moderation goes a long way. None of these require you to be a perfect parent. They require awareness, and now you have it. Out of these 9, which one caught you off guard? Tell me in the comments which habit you're going to work on. First, your answer might be exactly what another parent watching needs to hear. If this video was helpful, I'd genuinely appreciate a like, and consider subscribing. Every week I break down another piece of what the research actually says about raising a healthy, thriving child without the fear-mongering you'll find elsewhere online. I'll see you in the next one.